Okay, so this is our little nature walk lesson that I'm going to be completing with my student and my student helper, Phineas. Now, what we want to do, Amanda, is we want to walk through here and we want to do just a little bit of like exploring, okay? And what we're talking about is like the life cycle, because everything that's living has a life cycle. Do you know what the life cycle might start with? If you would think about, you have a little baby brother, right?
Yes.
And so what happened in the hospital?
He was born.
Okay, so would you say that was the start of his life cycle, or would you say that's like the end of his life cycle?
Start?
Yeah, that would be the start of his life cycle. And so that could be like with a person, a human, or it could be with an animal. Well, humans are animals, right? Or it could be with like a plant or any type of organism. All right, so let's think about the word organism. Have you ever heard that word before?
Yes.
Okay, you have. And what does it mean to you?
I don't know.
You've heard of it, but you don't know what it means. Okay, that's fine. Organism is anything plant, animal, or even like single-celled, like bacteria or something like that, that is living or was once living. Because you can have a dead organism. Now, if we look around here, is there any kind of organisms that you see in the yard that might be like at the beginning of their life cycle? No?
The grass?
Okay, so the grass always is growing, right? Mm-hmm. So when we cut it, it's going to start growing again until it gets to the really cold weather where it's going to stop growing. Because it doesn't grow in the winter, right?
Right.
Okay, because we never have to cut our grass in the winter, whether it snows or not. So some of these grasses, let's look down here. Can you tell the difference between some of these grasses and some of maybe these grasses? Can you tell a difference between these two?
The color's different.
Okay, the color's different. So would you think that the lighter one or the darker one is the older grass blade?
I don't know.
Okay, well, it's definitely going to be the lighter one, and you can also feel it. Go ahead and feel this one, and then we'll get this one, and go ahead and feel this one. What can you tell about them?
Come here. Mommy's fine.
What could you tell a difference in them at all?
The darker one was thicker.
Yes, and this one's very what?
Flimsy?
Very flimsy and a lot softer, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Okay, so would you think that this one was the newer?
Yes.
Okay, this is the grass that is at the beginning of its life cycle, all right? Very good. Now, we might want to find something that's in the middle of its life cycle, okay? Or still in the growth phase. Is there anything around this yard that you might see that is in like the middle of its life cycle?
The tree?
This tree over here, I would say that's a great example, because it is certainly not a fresh tree,
right?
Because that would be it would have to be real little and short. But it's also not a very, very tall tree. Okay, so we could definitely say that tree right there
it's not a dead tree.
Is in the middle of its life cycle. Now, I love that you pointed that out. And we are going to scan over. So you said this tree was dead. What makes you say that, by the way?
There's no leaves.
Yep, there's no leaves on it. So usually a tree that is not going to be growing any leaves is probably dead. So we might want to eventually do something about that tree before the branches start falling down. Okay, so what did we learn about today? Let's talk about a couple other things before we discuss that. If we look on the ground, do we see anything in particular other than grass?
Leaves.
Okay, we see some leaves. Can you go and get a couple examples of some of these leaves and bring them to me? Okay, we've got a couple examples of leaves here. What can you tell me about the way they look and feel?
This one's more crinkly
Okay.
and bendy, like it's drying out.
Okay.
And this one is not.
All right.
Feels like it might have just fallen.
Okay. And what about the color difference?
One's yellow, one's purple-ish.
Almost turning brown, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This side does look a little purple, but on this side definitely looks brown. So, yes, these leaves have fallen, hence the other term for autumn, which is
Fall.
fall. Now, that's the reason that they call it fall, because the leaves fall. Just so you know, this is part of the life cycle as well. Okay, you can see the difference in the leaves. One is fresh, even though it's fallen, it's still fresh, and this one's a lot older. Really, we could say this one's dead. Yeah. So, going back to the color, because that's one of the main things about fall, is what do you notice about the color of the trees and the leaves in the trees?
They're turning from green to yellow and orange and red.
Okay, yeah, it's fantastic. And you might remember from our lessons about that word that began with a C, and it sounds like carrot. Do you remember it at all? No, that's okay. Let me refresh your memory. Carotenoid. Can you say, what? Carotenoid, I'm serious, that is a word, carotenoid. That's how you say it. Can you say it?
Carotenoid.
Okay, so leaves, I don't know if you know this, but all leaves have already the colors in them, the reds and the oranges. Just like a carrot, what color is a carrot?
Orange.
That's right. So the leaves already have those colors in them. And the thing that covers up the colors during the good seasons, right? We'll call them, winter. No, not many people like winter as a season, except people that hate the heat and people that love winter sports. But anyways, that word that begins with a C that we talked about, and I'll help you out. Not chloroform. That is on your murder shows that you watch. Chlorophyll. Okay? So there's so much chlorophyll happening from the photosynthesis that the green color overcomes the colors underneath that are already there. So when it's going through its life cycle and the tree wants to conserve water, it drops its leaves. It stops the production of the chlorophyll, revealing, this is true, the colors that are underneath, and then it's going to drop the leaves, and they're going to fall.
It's crazy.
Yep. Okay, so what did we learn about today? What's a couple things you may have learned about?
Chlorophyll and chloroform are not the same.
That is correct. And we learned about not a bicycle, but a life cycle. Okay?
Yes.
A life cycle.
A life cycle.
And what are the three main parts of a life cycle? The one begins with a B. Birth.
Middle, death.
Okay, in the middle would be another term that begins with a G. It's like when you're growing up. It's the
Growth.
phase. Okay? So thank you so much. I hope you learned something from this lesson and you can retain it for next time.
Yes.
And if not, we'll revisit.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you.